So we're working with the same example as before, pizza parlor. So we have student population in thousands, quarterly sales in thousands, and we're going to generate residuals and analyze the residuals for checking on the validity of the regression assumptions. So let's go to data analysis, and select regression. Now let's identify the Y range, the X range, okay, labels, and we put the output starting from here. And now we have to make some selections from the bottom of this window. So we select residuals, that will give us the residuals, standardized residuals, okay, and then we will get a residual plot. We don't need the line fit plot, then we will select normal probability plots. So these are the boxes that we have to check, and then click OK. Now let's format the numbers. So here is Y hat, predicted sales, that's residuals. This is standardized residuals. And here is the data for the normal plot. Okay, let's look at the plots now. So we requested two plots. So here is the normal probability plot. Let's move it. This is the fourth plot, so let's move it down to the fourth space. Now this is the residuals versus the independent variable plot against X. Population, student population is X, and we have residuals on the Y-axis. And by looking at the plot, we can see that the residuals are kind of random. It's about the same width. So we can conclude that the variance being constant over X is probably valid, and the model, a straight line model, beta sub 0 plus beta sub 1 X plus E, is also valid. Interpretation for the first plot, residuals against X. So we can say the residuals appear random. The range of values do not seem to increase with increasing values of X. There is no discernible pattern. Therefore, model assumption and variance being constant assumptions, they seem to be valid. Now the second plot, which is residuals versus predicted Y. Okay, so here that plot is not automatically generated, so we have to generate that. So we want predicted sales as the x-axis, the residuals on the y-axis, and y-axis values are to the right. So we can highlight both columns and insert a scatter plot, format it, give proper titles. And plot number 2 and plot number 1, they are the same for simple regression. Now let's look at plot number 3. Plot number 3 is standardized residuals against X. So we have standardized residuals here, and the X values are at the top, population. So we have to prepare this plot. So let's go ahead and highlight the standardized residuals, insert a scatter plot, and we have to then add the X values. Go to select data, series 1, edit, and let's put the X values here. and let's move it down to plot 3, and we need to format this. In this plot, what we are looking for is whether almost all the standard residuals fall within -2 to +2. It turns out here that all of them do. So the normal probability distribution assumption is probably okay. So from plot 3, we see that for the normality assumption to be true, approximately 95% of the standard residuals must fall between -2 and +2. For our example, all of them do, so there is no reason to think that it is not normally distributed. Now, normal probability plot, the fourth one, okay, Excel automatically generates this plot. Here is the normal probability plot. We need to insert a straight line. Okay, let's do a trend line, linear trend line. And what we have to see is whether the points on the probability plot fall close to the straight line. If the points are close to the straight line, then normal probability assumption is probably valid. But if it deviates from the straight line significantly, and this is a judgment call, then we have to suspect whether the normal probability assumption is valid or not. So this is a second way to test normal probability. So plot number 3 also gives us insight about normal probability distribution. Plot number 4 does as well. So another approach for determining validity of the normal assumption. So you look at the probability plot, and the points seem to fall close to the straight line, and therefore the assumption of normal probability distribution is probably valid.